Hi, today I'm going to be talking about the progress I've made on this video game that I've been working on for over a year now. So that's pretty exciting. This is the earliest build that I could find. Um, it's about June of last year when I was working on this. In preparation for this video, I combed through about 50 pages of handwritten notes, and my plan is to talk about the changes and explore some of the old builds in chronological-ish order. A lot of ideas are kind of incomplete. For example, I made like a bunch of ships in December of last year that only three of them are like fully implemented now. And like two of them are like kind of partway there, and I'll show kind of towards the end the latest thing I've been working on. Um, but yeah, so this is the first build that I ever did for this game, at least on this engine anyway. Before, like, I first started this on the Unreal Engine, but I found that like Unity was able to handle like the physics simulation that I was going for a lot easier than Unreal Engine would have been. So I just kind of stuck with Unity, and so far it's really paid off. Um, but yeah, some of the things that I accomplished early on, like in July and August, um, so I made these stations. You can kind of see them in the distance. Where'd they go? There they are. Um, ooh. So I made these stations. You can kind of see them. They have like turrets that kind of swivel around and shoot at you. A lot of this stuff is really basics. Like the targeting system on these is still like early stages. One thing I wanted to kind of talk about. I'll close out of that real quick. I made kind of a little chart demonstrating how my targeting system works. So basically, if you think about the simple targeting system, like it just always points at wherever the target is, and I mean that's okay. But if the target has any sort of like movement, going in any direction at all, then you're going to miss unless the target's like really close by or your bullets are moving really fast. And then I had this idea for like a targeting system where it calculates how far the bullet is going to travel, like in a certain amount of time, basically, and then it multiplies that to the vector of the path of travel, so that way it'll kind of approximate where the target's going to be based on how fast it's going, and that's a little bit faster. But in kind of doing some research for this problem, I found, and I gotta find it again. Here. So I found this blog post from this guy named Kane, who came up with a system for using like a law of cosines to figure out where a really good um, targeting algorithm. And I mean, this was back in May 16th, 2009. And like he's got some code here that I've actually, let's see, I have it pulled up. So this is his code, and this is free to use as long as you must consider Kane a cool dude. And so consider this my endorsement. I think Kane is a cool dude. Thanks for letting me use your code. So anyway, I took this and I really like how it breaks down like what each part of the code is doing, and I was able to kind of like take this in pieces and implement it into my own code. Let's see if I can pull it up. I should know where it is. Here we go, the smart targeting script. This is kind of how it is implemented in my game currently. A lot of it's kind of picked apart, and I figured out like kind of how to get it to work with the system that I already have in place. And let's see, if I go into my game right now, you can't really see, like most of the ships don't even use it, just because I found that the only way to like reliably dodge this targeting system is to be changing your vector constantly, so like either changing your speed or your direction of travel, and then be far enough away that the bullet still can't hit you. And I consider that to be like pretty difficult, and when I play it, and I've been working on this for a year, I still have a really hard time avoiding this targeting system. But right now it's implemented on this heavy station. It's the only one that has it right now. So if I go into the turret body, the gun script here, it's got smart targeting. So it's got a range, and then like I can probably demonstrate it even. Oh, maximize this. Okay, so if I fly out, I think it's about there. This is going to be tricky. I've made this combat scenario a lot harder recently with like some of the ships that I've added. Like there's these 2 bombers up here that are going to be targeting me. And then these guys have missiles on them, so I have to kind of watch out for that. But this station, I believe it is? No, it's this one over here. You can see those ones, I can dodge them pretty easily by just moving in a direction. These ones are a little bit harder to dodge, and we'll see if it shoots at me. Like, they don't fire as often, but they are a lot more accurate when they do fire. Let's see. So there they go. And, like, they can pretty reliably hit me as long as I'm not, like, rapidly changing direction or anything. Which is cool, but it makes them kind of hard to fight. So, like, if I were to try to destroy this station right now, it's going to take me a little bit of work. And I can't just do what I normally do and just like strafe in a direction, because then they'll get hits on me. And so yeah, pretty difficult. I've only used this system in like one area, like I said, just right here on this one station. But yeah, I wanted to kind of show that off. Pretty cool. So something I also wanted to mention was just when I work on this game, I kind of I work on just like one piece at a time, basically. I work on the game as I imagine a person might work on remodeling a house, like slowly over time, room by room. Basically, I pick what I want to do, and then I just kind of work on that one thing, and I just kind of change day by day. And so with that, there's a lot of things like ideas that I came up with in like December, January, February. I had like a big brainstorming session, and I came up with a bunch of ideas, a lot of which I'm still working on, like slowly. But yeah, so in let's see, I can go to the November build real quick. So in November, I had the targeting system working on a basic level. Like when you turn it on and off, it doesn't go to like the nearest like center target or anything. It just grabs an object off of the array, and you have to reset it pretty much every time you change what's on screen. So like if I want to target this guy in particular, I got lucky that time, but usually you have to kind of scroll through the targets to get the one that you actually want. So I think with the targeting system around about the same time, I also added the missile system. So yeah, this has missiles now, and they drop tokens that you can collect. But it's currently not actually counting how many tokens you collect. I don't do that until later. But yeah, still pretty fun. Same basic physics system. All of that remains pretty much the same. Let's see, what else did I add? I worked on some game music in October, and I can kind of show a little bit of that. Okay, I feel like that's pretty well balanced, maybe a little bit lower. Okay. But yeah, so this is kind of an idea that I had for just some songs. Just kind of electronic and some elements of like you know, strings and horns and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not the best at writing music, but I've never really let that stop me from writing music. Anyway, so it's all gonna sound kind of like that. Let's see. The next build I had was February. I think February is the first time I actually like put the build on a flash drive and then like loaded it on my laptop so I could take it places and have people test it. So it's got the targeting system, it's got a new player ship model. The particle system on that doesn't work exactly the same as it does currently. Like it's gone through some iteration. But a lot of everything that you see is kind of, like, it's just kind of a progression from where it was before. But like I have the planet in the background, like a procedurally generated planet. My big carrier ships, my big destroyer ship, and I think there's some friendly fighters out here. I can't remember if that was yet or not. But yeah, just kind of making slow progress over the course of a few months. In March, I started doing some actual implementation of like some of the ships that I modeled like back in I think it was November. So like it took a few months to actually get some of these ships added, but I have a few of them pulled up. So like this is one of them. So this is like a interceptor. This is my missile ship, basically. So it's got the two little wings on it, and the missiles come out from underneath. And it works pretty effectively against like the small drones because the fighters that I made were not handling the drones very well. Like the drones were kind of winning the combat scenario every time. So I made this guy to kind of even out the like the drones and kind of deal with them. But they're pretty tricky to handle, like just for the player as well. Because the missiles are pretty fast and hard to avoid. But yeah, so that's one of the models. And then this is the bomber. I've already done a video on this one, but this is kind of the basic model that it started from. Cargo ship hasn't been implemented yet, but it's I think a really good design for what a cargo ship should look like. And this also kind of leads me into talking about like the damage system, the way that works. So on the actual damage script, let's see if I can find one here. I'll show it on this interceptor. So on this interceptor, there is a destruction script that has like a health variable, and it's also got all of these different angle factors that kind of figure out what the damage is. Basically, when a bullet hits, it calculates based on like how perpendicular the shot was. So if it hits at a 90-degree angle to any surface, it's going to do the maximum amount of damage, and then if it like glances off like a sloped armor or something like that, it's going to do less damage. Like in practice, it's kind of hard to see, but like, you know, over the long term, you'll notice you'll notice that kind of fall off happen. Like so on these attack ships, you can see I made the fronts of them kind of like angled, so that way if they're shooting at a target and that target is shooting back at them, they're going to minimize their damage because they're very angular, and so the bullets will kind of glance off. But on this cargo runner, it's really smooth, kind of round surface, so it's going to block a lot of the damage, but I mean if you attack it from the top or the bottom, it's going to be really weak there, which I feel like is, you know, pretty accurate to how it would kind of work in real life. Like I wanted the model to be like believable, not necessarily realistic, is kind of what I'm going for there. the latest thing, something I've been working on here, is the this blockade runner, and this has taken a lot of work to get to this point. But I made it so it's got these fins on the front, right? So if you go to the beginning of this animation, it's closed, and so it's gonna have like a ramming mode that it'll close up the arms and then charge at the player or whatever it's targeting, you know. And then also these arms will deflect like bullets that hit it or like missiles and stuff. They currently the way it's set up right now. Oh, I'll find it here. Blockade runner. It's not totally set up yet. Like it doesn't have the navigation scripts or targeting or anything like that. So it's just kind of an empty shell right now. But if I go in and I play it, here I need to minimize. Just a second. So it's open right now, and then if you hit the close trigger, then it will animate to closed. And later on, like I'm gonna work the script into this, so that way it will be able to tell it to open and close based on like how close it is to its target, and then accelerate towards it, so like ramming speed basically. But that's not quite done yet. It took a lot of time just getting it set up the way I wanted it to. Like it turned out to be a lot of work. But that's the thing I've been working on lately, and that's another one of those models that I made back in November that's not fully implemented yet. So that is the February build. The next one was April, and I can't remember. Oh, I did some work on the save system, so I think this was the one that that makes it so it actually tracks. Or I guess not. Maybe that came later. In this one, I remember what I did here. So in this one, I gave these fighters obstacle avoidance. So if they become too close to something, like these two here, they'll kind of push away from each other. And that way it makes them just kind of more combat effective. Because they aren't constantly like ramming into each other if they get too close. And that's really helpful, especially for these guys, because they like to kind of cluster around a single target and kind of pick away at it like a swarm. That's kind of their combat style, so it really makes sense for them to have some sort of collision avoidance system. But the collision avoidance system, I wrote it to be like universal enough that I could use it on even the bigger ships. So the bigger ships have it, the smaller ships have it, and like I can just about plug that into anything. It's been a goal of mine to try to make everything as modular as possible, so that way I can just kind of plug stuff in where I think it's necessary. And I mean, you can see, like, this is a pretty, like it's, you know, a pretty interesting combat simulation. Like, there's a lot of things going on kind of all at the same time, and it runs pretty smoothly. Like, I'm really impressed with the way this handles so far. So yeah, that was that. And then in May, I finished up the save system. So I think the very next one will have the save system implemented. Yes, so this is an accurate count of the amount of tokens that I've collected during the entire development of the game. So let's see if I can blow up a ship and collect a token. There's a lot of stuff that I haven't done yet. So like, for example, I haven't implemented the music or like any sound effects yet. A lot of that's still like to come. But I mean, it's all a process. And I mean, I got a lot of work to go still. So there's 115. I wonder if I Alt F4 and then restart, if it'll still be 115. 115. Sweet. So yeah, that was that. In June, I fixed some cannon targeting issues, and I implemented my bomber, and I did a video for that. But the other thing that I did in June was I worked on my fighter interceptor. And let's see, I don't have a more recent build of that, but I do have the working file. And for some reason, when I try to record this, the controls seem to lag quite a bit. but I just kind of wonder if it's maybe my computer has a hard time running OBS and also the simulation at the same time. But like I was saying, these interceptors have missile systems on them. So it's the first time I implemented that on anything else that wasn't like the player character. So this guy right here. Oh, yep, they're shooting me. And they got me. So we can watch them from the distance kind of take out some of these smaller interceptors. The thing is, you want to be really, really careful when you take them on. You don't really want to take them on more than one at a time. Because they do a pretty good job. They're pretty combat effective. I made it so they move kind of like a helicopter might move, where they just kind of hover a position and then move very fast. Something that they also do that was kind of an unintended consequence of the way they're programmed is they move at a speed that's like at around as fast as the player character can go, and they'll move straight backwards. That one's just gonna die. Wow. Okay. So, yeah. Basically, they can draw you out away from the battle and then kind of isolate you, and it makes you a little bit easier to target. So, like, if you start chasing them, you have to kind of be careful that you don't get drawn too far out into the open, because they definitely will do that. And that wasn't, like, something that I intentionally programmed for. It's just kind of something that kind of emerged from the programming that's already there. And then the bombers, I've shown this before, but like they kind of bombard a fixed target from a range. And in the meantime, the big capital ship, this big destroyer, is also just kind of bombarding this station from a distance as well. So yeah, this is kind of the latest build. There's also these ones out here that are, I believe they're trying to target one of the capital ships over here. Probably this big blue destroyer. I'll just kind of get closer to these guys and see what they're up to. A lot of this stuff is like kind of like not complete, so there's going to be a lot of like bugs still to sort out and a lot of things that I still need to work on. Like, it's not close to done really. My goal is to kind of have it done by the end of the year, or at least like some form of it that's like a playable like as a game sort of thing. So instead of like just one combat scenario, having like multiple, like what I wanted to do was have like a fleet system where everything is kind of a fleet, and you can move them around like on a board, and then like when they kind of are on the same square, then it initiates a battle, kind of like this. But I haven't really worked on that a whole lot, aside from just like brainstorming it. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now with this. It's still a lot of work to go, but I'm getting there. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for watching.